Welcome. Hello, my name is Magnus Thorne. Let me present my screen. So welcome to my cloud DNS filtering. I run, here, let me do my who am I? My name is Magnus Thorne. I'm on the security team at Ironclad. Ironclad, simplest way is to say we automate contracts. A lot of the world's still stuck in the 90s. Where's the Word document? We've automated that. Contracts are online. And so instead of waiting 6 months to get a contract signed, it's like 2 weeks. Like I bought a security vendor in 2 weeks. It's fantastic because you know exactly who needs to approve, who's blocking. So it's much better than the old one. This is my LinkedIn profile if anyone wants to ping me. Background, DevOps, network engineer, and at one point in my life, I was actually an accountant. So everything I know, just learned on my own. I grabbed the book, figure it out. So tonight, I'm going to build these two things. Ironclad DNS filtering. So this is a simple example of what how the DNS filtering works on AWS. When you have a server on AWS, your server's DNS server will always be .2 of the VPC. When you query that, that is basically Route 53 behind the scenes. What I'm going to build is the AWS DNS firewall. It's a Route 53 add-on, basically. And so when you query that .2, Route 53 will tell you whether that query is good or bad. This is going to block at the DNS level. So if you resolve evil.com, port 53, that DNS server is going to block or not block evil.com. As opposed to Google. Google does not have a DNS filtering product yet. Their solution is a firewall policy. So you can do something similar to what we're going to do on AWS, but it's going to be a firewall policy. Either way, both of these are VPC based. So you're not building this for an EC2 server, a Lambda, Kubernetes cluster. It's anything that gets built in that VPC is immediately protected. This is DNS. So you just spin up a server, like you put this on your non-prod, like your developer playground. You don't know what they're going to do. If they decide to do something crazy, it's immediately protected just by the fact that they built it in here. The one thing you need to take care of here is file integrity monitoring. Because you're depending on DNS for resolution, if a hacker breaches your box, if they change your etc resolve.file, they just bypassed your firewall. So if you have file integrity monitoring, then shouldn't be a problem. Here, since it's on the network level, you still should have file integrity monitoring, but it's not as impactful. So I have a AWS account here, my Ironclad DNS filter. Let's go to Oregon. So let me delete my old stuff. Yeah, I thought I cleaned up everything. I guess I didn't. Okay, let's start with VPCs. On AWS, I built a VPC. It's in Oregon. It's just your normal two public, two private. It's got a NAT gateway for internet access. And I built an EC2 server on that VPC. And it's in the private subnet, so it's routing through the NAT gateway. In order, what we're going to build is the DNS firewall here. So DNS firewall actually all the commands used to be on Route 53. They have since moved it. But before we do that, we need query logging enabled. So anytime your server queries something, CNN.com, Cisco.com, Amazon.com, you want a log of said query. So DNS queries. Dump it to CloudWatch, and we can create a log. Route 53 DNS firewall. We're going to add a VPC. So any DNS query that happens in this VPC will now get logged. So now we have a CloudWatch log with all the DNS queries. This will take a little bit to start spinning up. So next one, we want, let's do, over here, DNS firewall. Let's clean this up so I make sure. Nope, okay, I'll just start from scratch. Role group. Okay, so we want DNS firewall. So they moved this from Route 53 to here. We want to use, the easiest solution is deny specific, allow all. So like if you have again, that engineering playground, you're not sure what they're going to access. Basically, you need to block the evil websites. I have a blog posting. It's a little bit out of date, but these are the 4 lists that Amazon has of all the evil domains. You have no visibility into what's inside these. So you just have to hope that it's just all evil and be good with it. Let's turn this on. So block evil. September 15. One line. Nope. Let's do it. Sorry. Add rule group. Block evil. September 15. Add a rule. So we're creating a rule group, which is going to have a list of rules. And I always scroll down here and select Amazon's managed DNS. And then you just select it. It's pretty simple. Then I put guard duty. If a server makes a query for something that's in this threat list, you have 3 choices here. Do you allow it to query? Do you just block it? Or do you alert on it? So if you allow it, it just allows it to query. Alert will still allow it to query, but in those CloudWatch logs we set up earlier, there will be a line that says alert. Block, it does that. It blocks, but it also puts an entry in the logs saying that it blocked. Tonight, we're going to block. And UI, don't click next, click add rule. And then we go through and put them all in here. C2C, block, add rule, AWS list, aggregate, block, add rule, and the last one. This is pretty simple. Recommend everyone just turn this on in your environments. I expect no drama. And block. Now, if you're cautious, still turn it on, but set everything to alert. The servers will still be able to query the malicious domains, but at least you'll get an alert. So set up your monitoring, like your Datadog monitoring, around those CloudWatch logs. So, for example, I have a Lambda job that pushes those CloudWatch logs up to Datadog, and then Datadog just looks for the block or alert and sends me a Slack notification if it sees anything. So now I have 4 things in here. But the problem here is we have no way to test this. And Amazon won't tell us what's in this. That's fair. Like, they wouldn't want to let the hackers know that they're blocking them. So we need to put our own list in here. Add my own list. This is the only way. Evil September 15th, and put like today I'm gonna do one of my domains. No, let's just do evil.com. But before that, let's log back into my instance and show that we can resolve evil.com. Maybe that wasn't the domain I was going to test with. 1 second, let me look at my notes. Yeah. Evil.com. No, it previously worked. Okay, we're going to use mine. Host backsafe.com. No, I'm going to use host ironclad. No. Which one will I use? Salesforce? I need something with an IP. Okay, just an IP. No. Let's just use CNN. That's easy enough. Okay, let's move this to CNN. CNN.com. So you just need a domain. Like, a lot of times, I don't think it still resolves host Magnus.com. I think Magnus, my name, used to resolve to an IP, so I used to use that. So sometimes I'd use coworkers' names. Oh yeah, let's just use John. So this way it's easier for you to remember what is that name that is supposed to work. So John's here. If I resolve John in this environment, it's going to block. So now these 4 I don't know, but John can block. And so I just click next, and you can alter the priority here. Now, one other fun thing, I haven't done this, add my own domain list. So you can create a domain list. You could go out onto the market and buy blacklists here. So there are security companies with known malicious IPs, known malicious domains. You could automate creating the list and putting it into this field. So it's definitely an option. I haven't done that. It'd be neat to see. So, and always add tags, but I'm not tonight. Great rule group. So block evil September 15th. So these are my rules. You need to associate with your VPC. Done. So now I have a DNS firewall for everything in my VPC. I can spin up a Lambda in there, an EC2 instance in there, anything in there, it's automatically protected by this firewall. It's not perfect, but it's layered defense. And So we will want to monitor your logs. So here, these are the logs we set up where I already have a server up and running. You can see my server querying DNS. This resolves to this. Yep, still updating. Okay, let me show an example of what the firewall cannot do. There are limitations around this. Host hacksafe.com. Oh, let's where. So this is a redirect. It's not a redirect. It's a CNAME. But the DNS firewall cannot handle a CNAME. So right now we've configured the firewall. The firewall to, here we go. The firewall will block specific and allow everything else. But it's the golden image is block everything and allow specific. It's difficult on AWS because if you say allow access to this URL, it's only going to result to that. It does not follow the CNAME. So it's not clean, but one thing you could do is allow access to all load balancers. So you could do basically allow star this as your rule. Messier, you would have to decide whether it's worth that trouble, but it's start with this. Deny what you know is absolutely malicious. So host john.com. So in my experience, just enabling this, it doesn't immediately start working. It takes probably 5 minutes for it to work. Make sure you've applied it to your VPC. So what we have here, back to the slide, the server is querying .2. So it is querying cat etc resolve. It's querying its name server. And behind the scenes there is the DNS firewall. And that DNS firewall has those lists, those rules of what's not allowed. And so it's blocked at the DNS level. You could still do outbound filtering like a Palo Alto network firewall or Nginx proxy, but DNS is a quick and easy win. Let's see. And now I cannot resolve john.com. The DNS firewall is actively blocking this now. Now, if we're lucky, will we see John? Here, john.com, block. So this firewall rule action block only appears if it's blocked. So you can configure all your monitoring to ignore every DNS entry in these logs except this block line, which is what I do. I alert only on this block line. For things like Datadog, which charge you for those logs, well, you only need to send the malicious logs to them because there's a lot of DNS logs. So that's simple. That's a quick win on AWS. The next one, GCP. GCP does not have a DNS filter. What we have is a firewall policy. It's basically doing the same thing. It has a known list of malicious IPs. So when you try to go to evil.com, it will see, oh, evil.com resolves this IP. That's a known bad IP. So it's not exactly an exact match, but it's still blocking malicious IPs. Oh yeah. In the 2 years I've been running the AWS DNS firewall, I've had only one alert. And it wasn't malicious. It was, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but it wasn't anything to be concerned about. So set up your monitoring, and this pretty much set and forget it. Okay, this is GCP's environment. So I have a VPC I built. I want to create a firewall policy. Pretty simple. Block outbound. Here, they have a few other things you can block. But this right here, deny known malicious IPs, egress. This is basically the same thing I just did on AWS, except it's one list. It has other bonuses, like you can block inbound Tor, block inbound malicious, for those that have to block sanctioned countries, Cuba, North Korea. You can flip that on, and immediately your legal team's happy because you can say it's blocked. And you just click continue and associate it with your VPC. And now it's done. Now this is building pretty much the same thing we just had, except it's a firewall policy around your VPC. So firewall policy gets attached to your VPC. The DNS firewall gets attached to the VPC. So I'm actively using both of these. Haven't had any problems with. My only recommendation is make sure you have monitoring in place. Make sure you feel more comfortable things are working. I also recommend once in a while log into a server, set up a name that you know will trigger, just so you know the alerting still works. Nothing has changed. And that's my presentation. Pretty simple. I received some questions. When we set up filtering, is it stateless or stateful? Really neither. It's DNS. So you're querying DNS, and so AWS DNS doesn't apply. GCP, it's a network firewall. So if you try to connect to a malicious IP, it gets blocked. Since it's DNS-based, will it work for both IP addresses and domain names? The on AWS, domain names only. If you try to talk to an IP, you're not resolving DNS. So it doesn't, there's no protection. But the argument is a hacker's command and control, they want it to be a domain name. So they can swing DNS if their server gets discovered and they need to shut down that IP, or AWS has shut down their IP. On GCP, it's IP based. Since you're not really, it's IP based. Does it support CNAME or alias records? No CNAME. AWS will not follow that CNAME. That was a surprise to me. They know it's a pain point, so hopefully in the next year they'll resolve that. Will it slow down our DNS queries? I have not noticed anything. Though I'll admit I haven't run DNS query timing. Yeah, haven't had any problems in any of my environments that I've noticed. What are the costs associated with this? On GCP, minor. Really haven't even noticed it. It's cost per number of query. The longer your, the more lists that it has to scan through, like those 4 malicious lists, the higher the cost. But I spend less than $100 a month on Route 53, so I really don't notice it in the grand schemes of things. Can you implement any form of logging and monitoring? Absolutely. AWS, CloudWatch. Turn on. You can set it to S3, but I'm a Datadog infrastructure, and the Datadog examples for setting this up is all CloudWatch. So it should be able to do it through S3. I just haven't done it that way. And on GCP, absolutely turn on your DNS logging. And so you should be able to see all this in your GCP logs too. Which AWS products can we integrate with this feature? Pretty much anything you build in that VPC, both AWS and GCP, if you build it in there, this protects it. This is why it's great for the engineering playgrounds. You don't know what they're going to build, whether it's they build something on the public internet or a private server. This gives you at least a cheap, base, efficient level of security. Do we need to configure this on a per region basis? Yes. It's per account, per region. And then that region you can set up. Maybe it's global. I haven't really thought about it too much. Because I break up my environments by account. I'll have to get back to you to confirm. How easy is it to update and change rules? Simple, very simple. You can do it under 5 minutes. How scalable is the solution? Honestly, I set it and forget it. The only times I've really changed it, made changes is, oh, we have a new environment, we need a new firewall. Or AWS has added, like since I've done my blog posting about the AWS DNS firewall, AWS has released another block list. So you go back and add the new block list, never noticed anything. So it just works. And I'm going to post in the chat room just so. This is my old DNS firewall blog posting, kind of a walkthrough. But it's pretty simple. Highly recommend enabling it. Are there any other questions?
So Magnus, my first question is, prior to this AWS firewall product, if I need to block the access, like any particular domain, how can I achieve that? I know AWS released this product in 2016 or 18, but before that, if I need to block the access, how the people are doing it at that time?
Before DNS firewall, so I've never done it. You could try to do something with like OpenDNS, Cisco's Umbrellas product, but I wasn't really excited about my. Back to the valid question was, did you notice any performance impact? If I'm going outside of AWS to Cisco Umbrella to filter my DNS, is there a noticeable latency? That's why I've never implemented something like that in the cloud. The other solution, Nginx. Set up your own proxy, and that can block domain-based.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, but that is not a managed solution, so.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. My second question is, maybe I have missed that part. Magnus, is implementing the CloudWatch log is mandatory for implementing this solution, or it is just, good to have where we can see all the logs flowing, all the information?
I believe it's mandatory. I believe it's mandatory. I will follow up and get back to you.
Okay.
But I believe it's mandatory. I can test real quick. I will turn stop logging queries. So in theory, my VPC in Oregon will have no log querying. So if I go to, I still have the rules here. Can I associate it? Oh, disassociate this. It's not disconnecting it. The demo gods aren't. Oh, okay. So we have no logs enabled. Can I add the VPC? Yes, it is allowing it.
Okay, so it's not mandatory.
Not mandatory, correct.
Okay. My next question, Magnus, is you showed that block rules which is provided by AWS.
Mhm.
Do you know how often they update it? I know it's their secret sauce, but is there information available in public domain, like how frequently they're updating those policies? Or
I've asked questions about the contents and they would not give me any information. Like how often it changes, what's in there. And Google's the same way. So
okay.
black box.
Okay. And my last question, Magnus, is or maybe I Google it. Do they we have the Terraform APIs available for this AWS firewall?
Yes, I believe it's available. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I guess, yeah, that is pretty much from my side. Yeah. Magnus, this is truly awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give it a try. And as always, your session is always valuable. So thank you so much for your time.